because of my commitment to clean energy future, Made in America clean energy companies started investing here in Colorado.
President Biden comes to Pueblo to take a victory lap and a swipe at Congresswoman Lauren Boebert.
Police shot and killed a man who was threatening others at a busy park in Denver. Now police say that man was heavily armed.
A storm in space is about to bring some really cool views to our state. We'll explain what to look for. And a big rivalry on the hardwood. We're live in Fort Collins ahead of the CSU-CU matchup tonight. 9 News at 4 starts now. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Today, jurors heard two very different versions of events about what happened related to the death of Elijah McClain and what the paramedics did in that case, the paramedics who gave him a heavy dose of ketamine.
The other version of that story, those paramedics were hamstrung by misleading and in some cases untrue information provided by police. Investigative reporter Kevin Vaughn has been in court today listening to these two sets of arguments. He joins us now from Brighton. Kevin.
Jenny, the first two trials centered on Elijah McClain's death focused on the actions of police officers who repeatedly pointed the finger of blame at these paramedics. Jeremy Cooper and Peter Chikuniak arrived in court today, the last of the first responders to go on trial in the death of Elijah McClain. Police stopped McClain after a 911 caller said he seemed sketchy, but he was breaking no laws. Cooper and Chikuniak faced charges of reckless manslaughter and multiple counts of assault for injecting McClain with an overdose of the sedative ketamine, which stopped his heart. In opening statements, prosecutor Shannon Stevenson showed the jury clips from police body cams, and then asserted that the paramedics failed to check McClain's medical condition and ignored their training in administering a potentially deadly drug.
The defendants would hear Elijah say his last words, "Please, I'm trying. Please help me." And within seconds of hearing that, the defendants would decide to inject Elijah with that 500 milligrams of that sedative, ketamine.
Shanna Bagan, an attorney for Cooper, said police controlled the scene and were physically restraining McClain, leaving the paramedic with no way to examine the young man.
He doesn't have a gun. He has no authority to kick those officers off his patient. He has no authority to intervene. And he has to calm the situation down.
And Chikuniak's attorney, Mike Lowe, suggested the body cam would show the role police played in what eventually happened.
Ask yourself why you didn't see any body cam footage of the 11 minutes between the time that Mr. McClain was contacted by the police, the time that paramedics showed.
This is the third trial related to Elijah McClain's death, as we noted. In the first one, a jury convicted one officer and acquitted another. In the second trial, a different jury acquitted an officer. And now these two paramedics are going on trial. This is the third and final trial related to this death that happened more than 4 years ago. Kim?
And Kevin, so much of this testimony is familiar to us that have followed the case and certainly familiar to you, but to this jury, they know nothing about that.
That's right. They're not told about what happened with the police officers. They don't know about what happened in these earlier trials. But the witnesses we've heard so far today have all been repeating information that we heard in those other trials and that we have reported on in recent weeks.
Okay, well, you'll be following it as well as Alex Lewis as well. So thank you.
President Biden just wrapped up.
Oh, also a reminder quickly, if you want the latest, you want to catch yourself up on that trial, just go to the 9 News app, download it. We have all of our coverage on the trials up until this point, and of course, this latest trial involving the paramedics.
I was getting ahead of myself there. President Biden just wrapped up a rescheduled visit to Pueblo. He toured CS Wind, which is a wind tower plant that he was supposed to visit back in October, but that trip got postponed due to the Israel-Hamas conflict.
And this visit is part pat yourself on the back and also give a little jab to Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. 9 News political reporter Marshall Zellinger is joining us now from the wind tower facility in Pueblo. And so this was a planned event, Marshall. We knew about it, and we also knew that it was to bring some negative attention to Congressman Boebert.
Sure. Yeah, that's because the advisory from the White House announcing this rescheduled visit said that Biden would highlight how, quote, self-described MAGA Republicans like Representative Lauren Boebert are threatening investments, jobs, and opportunities. That's in relation to the Inflation Reduction Act. Boebert and all Republicans voted against that in 2022. Its passage creates tax incentives for companies like CS Wind that claims that they're going to hire employees that would get those tax incentives. The company, which is based in South Korea, says that it plans to hire more than 800 new jobs in Pueblo. The president toured the facility this afternoon, then gave a 23-minute speech with about 3 minutes dedicated to pointing out Boebert was against the bill that could lead to those jobs, remarks that included Biden making the sign of the cross.
The historic investments we're celebrating today is in Congressman Boebert's district. She's one of the leaders of this extreme mega movement. She, along with every single Republican colleague, voted against the law that made these investments in jobs possible. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. And then she voted to repeal key parts of this law. And she called this law a massive failure. You all know you're part of a massive failure?
She did tweet in August about the Inflation Reduction Act being a massive failure. And leading up to the president's visit, she has put out news releases saying that under Biden, his policies are crushing families. Typical stuff that you expect from political visits like this. However, I would say atypical in a visit like this is rescheduling something that you are specifically saying in your releases leading up to the visit that we are going to take cracks at the Congresswoman in her home district.
Yeah, interesting. And as you pointed out, this was a visit that was changed because it was supposed to happen weeks ago when the Israel-Hamas war broke out.
Yeah, and I coming up on Next with Kyle Clark at 6 o'clock, I talk with Democrats and Republicans and even the governor about the idea of like rescheduling a visit. Did you miss your opportunity? Because that's a major something to cancel a trip for. And then say, okay, I know we had to cancel it because of this major worldwide conflict. Let's reschedule it and still do the same thing. So we talk about, is that a proper reason for rescheduling a presidential visit, and are presidential visits what they used to be?
That's a good question.
Good question. Well, we'll look for that later on. Thank you, Marshall.
Marshall, thanks. Some sad news to pass along today. Karen Garner, the woman who was beat up by police in Loveland, has died. Family says Garner died of complications from dementia. It was back in June of 2020 when Garner was walking home from a Walmart. She left the store without paying for $14 worth of items. Officers in Loveland stopped Garner, threw her to the ground. She dislocated her shoulder, sprained her wrist, and broke her arm. That case led to significant changes in the Loveland Police Department, including criminal cases against the officers who stopped her. Her family says they want people to remember Karen as a vibrant and creative woman who loved life. She enjoyed taking a walk, picking wildflowers as well. Garner had 3 children and 9 grandchildren. She was 76 years old.
Denver police say the man that they shot and killed in Commons Park was armed with an AK-47 and hundreds of rounds of ammunition.
Police are now combing through social media, cell phone information, trying to figure out what he was doing with all that ammo. 9 News reporter Lauren Scafidi gives us a better idea of what we know at this point that led up to that shooting.
Newly released body cam footage shows the moments leading up to Denver police officers shooting and killing a man in Commons Park last Monday. Denver police are still working to figure out why the man was yelling at and chasing people with a rifle in the park.
We have no real understanding or idea of what brought him there.
But now they do know the rifle was this AK-47 and the man was heavily armed.
The magazine for the rifle contained 33 rounds, and 1 round was in the chamber of the firearm.
Matt Clark, the Major Crimes Division commander for Denver Police, says he had 14 loaded magazines, adding up to more than 400 rounds of ammunition.
There's nothing to indicate that he had any plan at or around Commons Park that we know of at this point.
In this body cam footage, you can hear an officer tell the man to drop the rifle twice.
Drop the rifle! Drop the rifle!
Just 5 seconds later, DPD says the man shoots at one of the 2 responding officers on a hill about 130 feet away. DPD says the 2 officers then fired 7 total shots at the man, killing him.
The subject was struck by several of the rounds that were fired and dropped his rifle.
Police say no one else was hurt, but bullets from the man's AK-47 shattered windows at a nearby apartment building with people inside it. The man's gun was not reported stolen, but Denver police are still working to figure out when and how he got the rifle and what he was doing with 400 rounds of ammunition in a busy park in the first place.
We're still working on getting information from his cellular devices, from his social media.
That was Lauren Scafidi reporting, and police shared a little bit more about what led up to that shooting in Commons Park. DPD says somebody who knew that man said he looked drunk earlier in the day, that he was involved in a hit and run, abandoned the vehicle, and then walked a mile away to that Commons Park with the rifle hiding under a blanket about an hour later.
Let's take a live look outside. You see those clouds? I don't know if they're a mountain wave cloud. Chris Bianchi's going to tell me. But it was warm out, and it was like very mild. And again, we keep saying, okay, we're about to touch December here. We've got a couple days to go, and that's it.
Yeah.
Day and a half, maybe, Chris.
Kim, you've been pretty on your game the last couple days.
Oh, I mean, I've been listening or something. I don't know.
Yesterday you explained.
Meteorologist yet.
Well, you explained lake effect snow yesterday. I believe
yeah, that was written for me. Thank you, our producer helped. All right, don't worry about that.
I didn't know that. I didn't read it. But as far as I know, you're a meteorological expert, Kim. And here, you can take the clicker, right? I'll walk over there. Now, in the meantime, those weren't mountain wave clouds, but we could see some later on this weekend.
All right.
How about that?
What were they? They're not lenticulars.
They're not lenticulars. They're not mountain wave clouds. But what we did see today, just mid to high level stratus clouds. That's what we ended up with today.
There will be a pop quiz.
There will be a pop
Stratus.
quiz. Yes.
All right.
Well, in the meantime, weather forecast-wise, it does look like we are going to be talking about a few more of those mid to high level clouds. This is out ahead of our next storm system, and this one will bring some pretty decent mountain snowfall. And that's where we want to see that snowfall. We've been struggling so far this winter season in terms of the snowpack levels for us in the high country. So we get that mountain snow. We are glad to see that. We need it up there, but tricky travel could be in store for the mountains for tomorrow night to end to your Friday morning. Temperatures right now, Kim was just talking about this a second ago, nearly 60 degrees for us here in Denver today, more than 10 degrees above our seasonal average. In the high country, highs mostly, temperatures right now mostly in the 30s. We had top out, as I mentioned, 59 in Denver today officially. But cold front overnight, this is going to change everything as we get that much cooler, much cloudier air mass in place by the time you wake up tomorrow morning. Clouds will increase after midnight, and then we'll see some of those clouds kind of thicken up as we head through the day. Right now, HE Doppler radar is on the quiet side, but for tomorrow, we'll be looking at those temperatures dropping. We'll see those temperatures drop tonight down to about 22. Clouds will increase after midnight. Tomorrow, we only top out in mid-30s, but looking ahead to Friday, we could get a few snowflakes in the picture. I'll have details on that, and also some snowfall totals for the high country. All that coming up in my full forecast.